A wind howls against the research outpost like a living entity demanding entry. It rattles the reinforced walls, seeking weakness in the scenes, probing for a way inside. I've cataloged 37 distinct sounds the Arctic wind makes. This one, a high-pitched king that drops suddenly to a guttural moan, I've labeled the knacker. It's the sound of something that was to be let in but will never leave if you open the door. I drum my fingers against the radio console. The static, a constant companion these past 4 months. The outpost creaks under the pressure of the gale, metal contracting in the sub-zero temperatures. My breath forms wispy clouds that dissipate into the dimly lit control room. Nathan MacReady, daily log. I mutter into the recorder. Day 118 at Outpost Theta. The temperature outside is currently minus 47 degrees Celsius. Wind speed 30 knots, gusting to 50. The days blend into one another in this frozen purgatory. The endless white beyond my window offers nothing new, and the radio channels remain silent, as dead as the landscape. I unclip a photograph from the console, my old research team from the Svalbard expedition 3 years ago. 5 faces smile back at me. Only one is still alive. My reflection in the control room window looks nothing like the man in that photograph. My once neatly trimmed beard has grown wild, streaked with more gray than I care to admit. The isolation has carved new lines around my eyes, which now hold the same haunted look I've seen in the faces of other long-term Arctic researchers. The cold gets into your bones, but the isolation gets into your mind. A sudden gust slams against the outpost with unusual force. The lights flicker, and for a moment, I see my reflection distorted in the darkened glass, elongated and wrong. The wind changes its tone, becoming a whisper instead of a howl. This is the first time I've ever classified this sound. It's almost articulate. My attention returns to the radio. Force of habit makes me reach for the frequency dial, though I expect nothing but static. Theta Station is the northernmost research outpost currently active, 200 miles from the nearest human settlement. This isolation is brought on by the geophysical anomalies I'm researching, but occasionally I question whether the cost is too great. I twist the dial slowly through the bands, static hissing through the speakers. The wind outside changes again, synchronizing with the radio's white noise in a way that makes the hair on my arms stand up. And then I hear it. A signal. Faint, but unmistakable. A rhythmic pulsing cuts through the static, too structured to be random interference. I lean forward, adjusting the frequency with practiced precision, trying to clean up the transmission. The pattern repeats in cycles of 7 beats. Thump, thump, pause. Thump, 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 pause. Over and over. It carries a melody that triggers something in my mind. A half-remembered dream, perhaps, or a song heard in childhood. My nose itches. I touch it absently, and my fingers come away, wet, blood. Just a drop or two, probably from the dry air. I've had nosebleeds before in extreme cold. I wipe it away with my sleeve and refocus on the signal. This is impossible, I mutter, checking the radio settings. There should be nothing broadcasting out here, nothing human, at least. I grabbed my logbook, noting the frequency and pattern. The signal strengthens, the pulse is becoming more distinct. My mind races to possibilities, equipment malfunction, unusual atmospheric conditions, perhaps even a military transmission. But none of these explanations feels right, because now there's something else beneath the pulsing rhythm, a voice. It whispers through the static, layered and shifting, speaking words that slip through the cracks of my understanding. The cadence resembles speech, but the syllables stretch and contract in ways that make my inner ear ache. I strain to comprehend, but it's like trying to hold water in cupped hands. The meaning seeps away before I can grasp it. The floor beneath my feet vibrates with the same rhythm as the transmission. I place my palm against the cold metal floor, feeling the subtle tremors pulsing up through my arm. Seismic activity? I whisper, but I know that's wrong. The vibration is too regular, too controlled. The whispers grow louder, and for a second, just a fraction of a second, they form words I can almost understand. My name. They're saying my name. The lights flicker again, longer this time. When they stabilize, I'm standing 3 feet from where I was, closer to the door. I don't remember moving. My hand is already on the handle. I shake my head, disoriented. Did I black out? Lose a few seconds? The clock on the console reads 23:42. It was 23:41 when I started adjusting the frequency. Only a minute has passed, but it felt longer. Felt like I lost something in between. Static surges through the speakers, drowning out the voice. The floor's tremor intensifies, rattling the surrounding equipment. Red warning lights flash on the environmental monitoring system. Something is happening beneath the ice. I lunge for my gear, yanking insulated boots over 3 layers of socks and throwing my parka over thermal layers. My movements are automatic, drilled into muscle memory from years in extreme environments. Gloves, hat, scarf, each item a layer of protection against an environment that kills within minutes. The radio speaker erupts in a squeal of feedback that drives daggers into my eardrums. Through the pain, I hear the voice again, clearer this time, though still incomprehensible. But there's one word, just one, that cuts through with terrible clarity. The Arctic air rushes in, hungry and searching, and I brace myself against the wall as I slam the exterior door release. The cold is immediate and absolute, stealing the breath from my lungs and stinging any exposed skin. The station's floodlights struggle against the swirling snow, creating a small hemisphere of visibility beyond which lies only darkness and ice. The wind has changed character entirely. No longer howling or whispering, it now seemed to pulse, inhaling and exhaling like a massive, sleeping beast. Each gust carries that same whispered cadence I heard on the radio, as if the air itself has learned to speak. I secure the door behind me and activate my communication unit. Station Command, this is Dr. MacReady at Outpost Theta. I'm investigating an unusual seismic event. If you receive this, please acknowledge. The transmission will bounce to the satellite relay, but I know a response is unlikely. Communications have been spotty at best since the last solar flare activity. As I approach the perimeter, the vibrations beneath my feet intensify. My headlamp cuts through the darkness, illuminating the swirling snow. The vast Arctic stretches before me, an endless white void beneath a moonless sky. But tonight, something is different. The ice seems to shimmer, reflecting light in strange, undulating patterns, as if something moves beneath its surface. 20 meters from the station, I spot it. Fractures in the ice, spreading outward from a central point like a spider web. But these aren't the random cracks formed by temperature variation or pressure. They curve and spiral in complex, symmetrical patterns. As I draw closer, I see they pulse with a faint luminescence, a deep blue-black glow that seems to drink in the surrounding light rather than emit it. The patterns form symbols I've never seen before, yet they strike me as oddly familiar, like letters from a forgotten language I once knew, but have long since forgotten. They throb in unison, the same 7-beat rhythm from the radio signal. I kneel to examine them, pulling out my field scanner. The temperature around the symbols reads 10 degrees warmer than the surrounding ice. Impossible. The wind dies completely as I lean closer. The world goes utterly silent. The silence is wrong, too perfect, too absolute. Even in the calmest Arctic conditions, there's always some sound, the creaking of ice, the distant moan of wind across the vast expanse, the sound of my own breathing. But now, there is nothing except the thudding of my heart. A sensation crawls up my spine, the unmistakable feeling of being watched. I spin around, scanning the snow-drenched wasteland, my headlamp cutting a desperate arc through the darkness. The outpost stands alone, a fragile box of light and warmth amid nothingness. There is no one here. There can't be, and yet the feeling persists, pressing against me from all sides. Whatever watches me is not behind or beside me. It's everywhere, studying me from every angle at once. I force myself to turn back to the symbols. The rational part of my mind insists there must be a scientific explanation, perhaps bioluminescent algae trapped in the ice, or some mineral reaction triggered by the seismic activity. I need samples, data, evidence. My gloved hands are clumsy from cold and adrenaline as I reach into my pack for collection tools. As I prepare to take a sample, the whispers return, not from my communication unit, but from the ice itself. They rise from the glowing symbols, vibrating through the ground and into my body. My heart pounds as I carefully extend the gloved finger toward one of the symbols, barely brushing its surface. Heat spreads from my fingertips up my arm, and the glow intensifies, pulsations quickening as if synchronizing to my heartbeat. Something deep below the surface stirs. The moment my finger makes contact, pain lances through my skull, sharp and sudden, like an ice pick behind my eyes. I gasp, jerking my hand back, but the sensation persists. The symbols seem to burn themselves into my vision, after images that remain even when I close my eyes. When I look down at my glove, I expect to see damage, scorching perhaps, but there's nothing. The fabric is intact, yet my hand beneath throbs with a heat that shouldn't be possible. I yank my hand away fully now, but it's too late. The symbols flare with sudden brightness, and the ice beneath me shudders. From inside the station, the radio crackles to life, I can hear it blaring through the open doorway, though I'm certain I closed it behind me. The whispered voice is now louder, speaking directly into the Arctic night. It repeats a single word over and over. My name, MacReady, MacReady, MacReady. But there is something worse, something that turns my blood to ice colder than the Arctic air. It doesn't just say my name, it says it in my own voice. My exact inflection, my precise cadence, every micro variation in tone that makes a human voice unique. It is my voice, yet utterly wrong, hollow, and hungry. I stumble backward, nearly losing my footing on the slick ice. I need to get back to the station, to secure it, to call for extraction. This is beyond my expertise, beyond anyone's expertise. I turn toward the research station, my headlamp illuminating the path I made through the snow just minutes earlier. But something has changed. My footprints, which should be clear in the untouched snow, are no longer there. Instead, a new set of footprints leads toward the station from a point far beyond where my light can reach. Someone or something walked here before me. The prints are roughly human-shaped, but too large, with an odd gait that suggests their maker possessed a skeleton unlike any terrestrial creature. This isn't real, I mutter, my breath clouding before me. Isolation-induced hallucination, sensory deprivation effects. The explanations sound hollow, even to my own ears. The radio's volume increases. My voice, that is not my voice, now joined by others, layered whisper, speaking in unison, creating a chorus that makes my skull vibrate with recognition. I've heard this before, somewhere, somehow. I ran toward the station, no longer caring about scientific inquiry. Every instinct screams for shelter, four walls between me and whatever watches from the ice. The station door stands wide open, though I'm certain I left it locked. Snow drifts across the threshold like questing fingers. I reach the doorway and freeze. Inside, the radio crackles and sputters, but the voices are now coming from everywhere at once, from the walls, the floor, the very air. As I step inside, the door slams shut behind me with a metallic clang. The wind has returned, but it is no longer outside. It swirls through the corridors of the station, whispering my name with intimate familiarity. Station Command, Emergency Protocol, Victor 9 Delta. I gasp into my communicator, requesting immediate extraction from Outpost Theta. Unknown phenomenon, possibly biohazardous. Repeat, emergency extraction required. Only static answers me. The floor trembles beneath my boots. I look down and see something impossible. The metal floor panels have become translucent, like ice in spring, revealing black, shifting depths beneath the station. Shapes move in the abyss, vast and formless, riding against the boundary as if testing its strength. They press upward, bulging the floor in slow, deliberate pulses. My vision blurs. I blink hard, trying to focus, but the translucence remains. The shapes continue their writhing. My hands find the edge of the console, gripping it to steady myself, and I realize I'm shaking, not from cold, but from something deeper. A tremor that originates in my core and radiates outward. Another nosebleed. Heavier this time. Blood drips onto my parka, stark red against the white thermal fabric. I wipe it away roughly, smearing it across my face. The rational part of my mind knows this can't be happening. They built a station on solid bedrock beneath the ice. There is no beneath to see, yet I see it all the same. And as the shapes continue their rhythmic pulsing, I hear a sound that makes my bones ache with recognition. A heartbeat, impossibly deep, echoing in sync with my own. It knows me. Whatever it is, it knows me. And I, God help me, know it too. I stand at the research station's exit, my gloved hand gripping the portable signal scanner so tightly, my knuckles ache beneath the insulated fabric. Something is wrong with the wind. It's died down too suddenly, too completely. The Arctic should never be silent. 4 months at Outpost Theta has taught me that silence here is as unnatural as warmth. My breath catches in my throat as I reach for the door handle. The metal is ice cold, colder than it should be, even for -47. The cold burns through my glove, making my fingers throb. I hesitate, looking back at the dim control room. The flow no longer shows the impossible depths I glimpsed earlier, but that doesn't mean they're gone, just hidden again, waiting. I force myself to push through the door. The station's exterior floodlights illuminate a small radius of the endless white expanse, but beyond that perimeter lies only darkness. As I step outside, the research station seems smaller than when I arrived 4 months ago, like the ice is pressing in around it, swallowing it whole. The structure that once represented safety now looks fragile, temporary, a human intrusion that the Arctic nearly tolerates. This is Dr. Nathan MacReady. I speak into my voice recorder, my breath forming crystalline clouds, investigating anomalous signal and seismic activity approximately 20 meters northeast of Outpost Theta. Current conditions, still air, temperature dropping rapidly. I check the thermometer on my wrist, -52 Celsius. The temperature has plummeted 5 degrees in less than 10 minutes. Not impossible, but rare, especially with no wind. My nose begins bleeding again before I've taken 5 steps. I tilt my head back briefly, tasting copper, then force myself to continue. The cold should constrict the blood vessels, should stop the bleeding quickly, but it doesn't. The blood flows steadily, freezing in my beard, creating icy crystals against my skin. The scanner in my hand hums to life as I activate it, its digital display glowing blue in the darkness. Its purpose is to detect and measure electromagnetic frequencies, but I've modified it to capture a broader spectrum. If anything is broadcasting out here, the scanner will find it. I take 3 steps away from the station, my boots crunching in the snow. The scanner flickers erratically, its needle jumping violently across the display before settling again. I tap the device against my palm, assuming a malfunction, but the readout remains unstable. Another step forward. The frequency spikes violently, almost like a heartbeat buried beneath the ice. Dump, dump, pause. Dump, 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 pause. The same 7-beat rhythm I heard on the radio. My left hand spasms without warning, fingers curling into a claw. The scanner nearly falls from my grip. I have to pry my own fingers open manually with my right hand, forcing them to release their death grip. The joints ache like arthritis, though I've never had joint problems before. My breath fogs the air, but the mist lingers too long, swirling as if drawn towards something unseen. I watch it curl away from me, moving against the laws of physics, spiraling toward the direction of the fissure I discovered earlier. I tighten my grip on the scanner and trudge forward, away from the station's protective glow. The darkness ahead feels thicker than a normal Arctic night, as if the blackness has substance, a weight. I flick on my headlamp, but the beam seems dimmer than it should be, unable to penetrate more than a few feet ahead. Scanner showing fluctuating signals between 15 and 85 Hz, I record. Unusual pattern, similar to the radio transmission. The primary source appears to be approximately 50 meters northeast of the current position. The cold intensifies with every step, biting through my layers, despite the absence of wind. My exposed face stings, the moisture in my eyes threatening to freeze. I should turn back. The temperature alone makes this expedition dangerous. But I can't. Whatever waits out there in the ice, I need to understand it. Halfway across the frozen tundra, I halt. A vague shape stands in the distance, not directly in my path, but off to the side, barely visible at the edge of my headlamp's reach. Not a person, just an unsteady silhouette of ice and shadow, flickering at the edges of my vision. I stare, trying to make sense of its dimensions, its purpose. I blink, and it's gone. Was it ever there? After 4 months of isolation, I know the mind plays tricks. Pareidolia, the tendency to see patterns, faces, figures where none exist. A survival mechanism from our evolutionary past. But the feeling remains. Something is watching me. The weight of unseen eyes presses against my back, my sides, from above and below simultaneously. I spin, sweeping my headlamp across the barren landscape. Nothing. The outpost stands alone in the distance, a dim, artificial star on the horizon. I am the only living thing for hundreds of miles, yet I am not alone. I push forward, forcing one foot in front of the other. The scanner's readings grow more erratic, the needle swinging wildly. The weight of unseen eyes never lifts. My vision doubles briefly, the ice ahead splitting into two overlapping images. I stop, close my eyes, and count to 5. When I open them, the world has merged back into one, but there's a lag now, a slight delay between when I turn my head and when my vision catches up, like my brain is processing sensory information through a damaged buffer. Approaching anomaly source, I mutter into the recorder. The temperature continues to drop, now at minus 56 Celsius. Static erupts from the handheld radio clipped to my parka, startling me so badly I nearly dropped the scanner. Through the white noise, a garbled voice breaks through. MacReady, get out. Not alone. I recognize a voice immediately. Dr. Ellis, the only other researcher stationed in this region. Ellis maintains Outpost Omega, a similar installation to mine, but located over 80 miles to the south. We check in weekly, mostly out of protocol rather than need for conversation. Our last scheduled contact isn't for another 3 days. I fumble with the radio, my gloved fingers stiff from the cold and adrenaline. Ellis, repeat that. What do you mean? Not alone. The response is a burst of white noise, followed by a deep, rasping breath, impossibly close to the microphone. The sound isn't human. Too wet, too hollow, like air forced through lungs filled with fluid. Then, silence. Ellis? Ellis, do you copy? I try again, adjusting the frequency. Nothing but static. The radio crackles once more, but instead of Ellis's voice, I hear something else. The same whispering from before, but clearer now, as if whatever speaks has learned how to use the radio more effectively. I clip the radio back to my parka, an icy knot forming in my stomach. Ellis isn't due for a supply drop for another month. There's no rescue team that could reach Outpost Omega quickly. If something has happened to him, I push the thought away. Focus on the immediate situation. I continue toward the source of the anomaly, the scanner pulling me forward like a divining rod. As I approach, I recognize the jagged fissure in the ice where I saw the glowing symbols earlier. But something has changed. The fissure has widened, the glow from within intensified. The surrounding air feels wrong, heavier, thicker, almost humid despite the deadly cold. My scanner flickers violently, numbers and symbols scrambling into unreadable nonsense. The screen distorts, displaying characters I don't recognize, not from any human language. A deep crack echoes beneath my feet, and for the first time since I discovered the radio signal, genuine chill of fear slithers through me. Not the intellectual concern of a scientist facing an anomaly, but primal terror, the recognition of prey in the presence of a predator. I should turn back. Contact station command. Request immediate extraction. That will be the protocol, the rational course of action. Instead, I take another step forward. A subtle vibration, almost a purr, comes from the ice beneath my boots. The fissure is approximately 2 meters long and half a meter wide at its broadest point, large enough for a person to slip through if they were reckless or desperate enough. The edges are too clean, too precise to be natural, not like the jagged, chaotic fissures formed by shifting tectonic plates or temperature variations. This looks deliberate. I pause at the fissure's edge, kneeling to inspect it. The ice here is unusually clear, like crystal rather than compacted snow. I peer into its smooth, glassy surface, and my reflection stares back, but it doesn't move correctly. There's a fraction of a second delay between my movements and the reflection's response. I tilt my head. The reflection follows. A moment later, I raise my hand. The reflection mimics the gesture after a beat. Then, more disturbing still, a subtle smile forms on my reflected face, an expression I'm certain I'm not making. The surface becomes cloudy again, ordinary, as if the crystal clear window was never there. Hallucination, I mutter to myself. Sleep deprivation, isolation-induced psychosis. The explanations sound hollow, even to my own ears. A sudden gust of wind howls past, the first movement of air since I left the station. It kicks up snow and spiraling eddies, momentarily blinding me. As I steady myself, brushing ice crystals from my goggles, I notice something impossible. Footprints, leading toward the fissure, fresh, clear, perfectly formed in the untouched snow. But there's something wrong. There are no return prints. Whoever or whatever walked here never came back. I approach the tracks cautiously, my headlamp illuminating each depression in detail. They resemble human footprints at first glance, but upon closer inspection, the proportions are wrong. Too wide at the heel, too narrow at the toe. The stride length is inconsistent, sometimes a normal human pace, other times stretching impossibly long, as if the maker occasionally forgot to mimic human movement. The tracks lead directly to the fissure and simply end, as if whatever made them descended into the ice itself. A loud beep from the scanner in my hand is accompanied by flashing warning indicators on its screen. The fissure vibrates, a rhythmic thrum that syncs with the scanner's erratic beeping. The glow deep within the ice intensifies, a color beyond human comprehension, not quite blue, not quite violet, shifting like slow breathing ember. And then the whispers return, clearer, stronger, calling my name. Nathan, not through the radio this time, but directly in my mind, bypassing my ears entirely. The voice feels familiar, like something from a half-forgotten dream. Nathan MacReady. The sound vibrates through my skull, making my teeth ache. I press my palms against my ears, but it makes no difference. The voice comes from within. This isn't real, I say aloud, my voice sounding thin and insignificant in the vast Arctic emptiness. It must be auditory hallucination, possibly caused by extreme cold or prolonged isolation. The whispers shift, not quite responding, but reacting. The pattern changes, becomes almost mocking. I catch fragments that might be words, broken, expanded. Tell yourself. But the meaning is slippery, the context unclear. Am I hearing a response, or is my brain constructing patterns from random noise? A wave of vertigo washes over me. Whether hallucination or something else, the experience is more complex than any documented psychosis I've studied. Something shifts beneath my feet. Something enormous seems to be breathing just below the surface as the ice around the fissure sinks slightly. The sound is not natural, not the familiar groan of shifting glaciers, but a wet, hollow sound, like air rushing through cavernous lungs. The whispers laugh, a sound like ice cracking in spring. I stumble back, my bladder loosens just for a second, just enough that I feel the warmth before the cold reclaims it. The scanner screen goes black, then displays a single symbol, the same one I saw carved into the ice earlier. The device grows hot in my hand. The casing begins to melt the snow where I drop it. The glow intensifies, and then I see it. A shape within the ice. A hand, not human, not animal, something else. Frozen mid-reach, its fingers splayed, almost beckoning. It has too many joints, the digits too long and sinuous. The proportions are wrong in ways that make my mind recoil. The ice around the hand pulses, shifting, as if trying to push the thing closer to the surface. I stumbled back, chest heaving, the cold air burning my lungs. The whispers converge, resolving into something almost like speech, but the words arrive wrong, backwards, layered over each other. I catch fragments, afraid, seen, before. No, I manage, my voice cracking. I don't know what you are. The response comes as sensation more than sound, a pressure against my thoughts, an impression of recognition and a denial intertwined. More fragments surface, recognized, came, drawn, cold places, thresholds. The concepts feel significant, but I can't assemble them into coherent meaning. It's like overhearing half a conversation through a wall. Images flash through my mind, my childhood in Alaska, staring up at the aurora borealis, feeling it was sending me a message. The night my mother disappeared in a snowstorm, how I knew she wasn't coming back before anyone told me. My obsession with the Arctic, with ice cores, with ancient climates, the Svalbard expedition, the deaths of my colleagues, the thing we found in the glacier. Wait, what thing? We didn't find anything. We were taking ice core samples, nothing more. I shake my head, trying to separate my actual memories from whatever is bleeding into my thoughts. The whispers press harder, and I feel more than hear their insistence. Remember, 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 remember. The word echoes, distorts, becomes a rhythm rather than mean. The wind picks up, swirling around me in the vortex. The temperature plummets further, cold so intense it burns. Ice crystals form on my eyelashes, my beard. I need to get back to the station or I'll die out here. I turn to retreat, but my foot slips. I nearly tumble into the fissure. My hand shoots out instinctively, seeking purchase, and lands on something solid within the ice. Not the grotesque, misshapen hand, but something else. Something smooth and black, its edges shifting, refusing to settle into a fixed shape. An object, an artifact embedded in the ice, just inches from the surface. The moment my fingers make contact, something changes. The whispers converge into a single, clear voice. Not speaking in words, but in feeling, in knowing. A telepathic connection that bypasses language entirely. Pain explodes through my hand, not heat or cold, but something else entirely. The sensation travels up my arm like electricity, but slower, more viscous, as if my nerves are conducting molten metal. I try to pull away, but my hand is stuck to the artifact's surface, neither frozen nor glued, but somehow merged, as if the boundary between my flesh and the object has dissolved. My other arm flails for balance, but I'm already falling forward. The ice beneath my knees shatters with a sound like a gunshot. I have time for one breath, one desperate inhalation, before the ground disappears entirely. I understand one thing with absolute certainty. The artifact was waiting for me, specifically me, always me. The rational part of my mind protests. This is impossible. Objects don't wait. They don't recognize. They don't know. But another part, a deeper, older consciousness I barely recognize as my own, knows this is true. The artifact knows me. And worse, I know it. The sensation is like déjà vu, amplified 1,000-fold, like remembering something I never knew I'd forgotten. The fall is not a clean drop. My body strikes the fissure's edge, and I feel my ribs crack, 3 of them, maybe 4. A distinctive snap that sends agony radiating to my chest. My shoulder hits next, the joint wrenching at an unnatural angle. Then I'm tumbling through darkness, my body ragdoll limp, hitting the ice walls as the chasm narrows and widens unpredictably. Each impact dries the air from my lungs. Each collision leaves new damage. I catalog distantly through shock, split lip, possible concussion, something wrong with my left ankle. The artifact remains fused to my palm through it all, its pulse now racing, excited. The artifact pulses beneath my palm, its rhythm matching my heartbeat. No, not matching, controlling. My heart rate adjusts to its tempo. My breathing synchronizes with its pulse. The sound of my blood rushing through my veins aligns with its vibrations. And then, the voice speaks clearly, not in my mind, but in the air itself, emanating from the artifact. You have returned. I'm still falling, but the quality of the fall has changed. It's no longer through physical space, but through something else, through layers of time, through dimensions my human senses can't properly parse. I see myself falling from multiple angles, simultaneously, as if reality is stuttering, showing me the same moment from infinite perspectives. Nausea overwhelms me. I retch, but nothing comes up. My stomach is empty, has been empty, the isolation diet leaving little to purge, but my body tries anyway, convulsing as I plummet. As I fall, I see images, flashes of places I've never been, people I've never met, creatures that have never existed on Earth. I see cities beneath ice sheets, civilizations that predate humanity by millions of years. I see myself, but not myself, wearing robes of material that shifts like liquid metal, standing before a great black door embedded in an ice wall. I see the stars, but not from Earth, from somewhere colder, darker, more distant. The constellations are wrong, the galaxies arranged in patterns I don't recognize. I scream, but the sound doesn't escape my throat. Instead, the artifact absorbs it, drinking my terror like sustenance. The fall seems endless, but eventually, I hit something solid. Not ice, not rock, something that gives slightly beneath my weight, like flesh. It's warm, impossibly warm in this frozen hell. The impact dries what little air remains from my lungs. The broken ribs grind against each other, and the pain is so intense that my vision goes white, then black, then white again. I lie there gasping, each breath a knife in my chest, unable to move, unable to think beyond the immediate agony. Blood fills my mouth. I'd bitten through my tongue during the fall. I spit it out, the taste overwhelming. My left eye won't open properly, swelling already closing it shut. When I try to move my left leg, the ankle refuses to bear any weight. Broken or badly sprained, I'm destroyed, barely functional. And I'm only at the beginning of this nightmare, as darkness engulfs me completely. The artifact in my hand glows faintly, providing just enough light to see that I've landed in a tunnel or chamber beneath the ice. The walls around me are smooth, almost polished, curving organically rather than with the angular precision of human architecture, and they're covered in symbols. The same symbols I saw on the ice above, now etched into these walls by the thousands, spiraling in complex patterns that seem to shift when I don't look directly at them. The artifact pulses again, and the symbols respond, glowing faintly in sequence, creating waves of light that travel along the tunnel walls. They're communicating. Every pulse sends fresh pain through my damaged hand. I try to drop the artifact, to pry it away, but it's become part of me. When my skin meets its surface, I can no longer distinguish the boundary. It's fusing with my flesh, black tendrils spreading from the contact point, crawling up toward my wrist like living tattoos. No, I whimper, my voice barely a whisper through my damaged throat. Please no. My muscles scream in protest as I struggle to stand. I should be frozen, should be dead from the fall, but I'm not. The chamber is warm, uncomfortably so, but enough to prevent immediate freezing. My breath still forms clouds, but smaller, wispier. It takes 3 attempts to get to my feet. My left ankle buckles the first time, sending me crashing back down with a cry of pain. The second time, I make it to my knees before my broken ribs steal my breath and force me down again. The third time, I manage to stand, swaying, putting all my weight on my right leg, my right arm cradling my damaged ribs. Blood drips steadily from my nose, my mouth, a cut above my swollen eye. It patters onto the warm floor, and where it lands, the symbols glow brighter, as if feeding on it. Hello? Each syllable sends fresh pain through my shattered chest. Is anyone there? Foolish question. There can't be anyone here. No human, at least. But the artifact in my hand pulses more urgently, and the symbols on the walls glow brighter in response. A path of illuminated symbols appears ahead of me, leading deeper into the tunnel. I should go back. Should try to find a way to the surface, back to the station, back to safety and rationality and the known world. Instead, I follow the path, limping badly, each step agony. The artifact guiding me, its pulse now so aligned with my heartbeat that I can no longer tell where it ends and I begin. The tunnel curves gently downward, spiraling into the earth. How deep am I now? 50 meters? 100? The ice in this region is thousands of meters thick in places. I could walk to a passage that hasn't seen daylight in millions of years. Every few steps, I have to stop and rest against the wall, my damaged body barely able to continue. The black tendrils from the artifact have reached my elbow now. I can feel them burrowing deeper, not just under my skin, but into my muscle tissue, into my veins. My entire arm throbs with an alien pulse that's overtaking my own circulation. Time becomes unreliable. I think I've been walking for 10 minutes, but when I check my watch, through my one functioning eye, 40 minutes have passed. Or is it 4 minutes? The display is blurring, the numbers rearranging themselves. I can no longer trust what I'm seeing. The tunnel eventually opens into a larger chamber, and I stop in my tracks, unable to process what I'm seeing. The space before me defies comprehension. It's vast, impossibly vast, larger than should be possible beneath the ice. The ceiling arches hundreds of meters overhead, supported by columns of what looks like black glass. The floor is that same strange, slightly yielding material I landed on, and it's covered in more symbols. These larger and more complex than those in the tunnel. But it's what occupies the center of the chamber that steals my breath. A structure, an altar, a machine, a throne. I have no reference point, no context for what I'm seeing. It's constructed of the same shifting black material as the artifact in my hand, but on a massive scale. It pulses with that same 7-beat rhythm, and as I watch, parts of it rearrange themselves, flowing like liquid before solidifying again in new configurations. And around it, suspended in the air, like 3-dimensional projections, are stars. Not images of stars, but what appear to be actual celestial bodies, miniaturized and floating in perfect orbital patterns. A model of a solar system, but not ours. The arrangement is wrong, the number of planets different. The central star not yellow, but a deep, angry red. The artifact in my hand pulses more urgently, pulling me toward the central structure. I resist, digging my heels into the floor, but it's like fighting gravity, a force beyond my control. My injured ankle gives out. I collapse, crying out as my broken ribs impact the floor. The artifact drags me forward anyway, my body scraping across the smooth surface, leaving a trail of blood behind me. I claw at the ground with my free hand, but I might as well be trying to stop a glacier. What are you? I whisper to the artifact, to the chamber, to whatever intelligence orchestrated this impossible place. The response comes not in words, but in fragments, impressions that slam into my consciousness like physical blows. Nothing coheres. I see, feel, know things that contradict each other, that exist in multiple states simultaneously. And with each impression comes physical agony. My nose bleeds so heavily, I'm choking on it. My ears begin bleeding too. I feel the warmth trickling down my neck. The pressure in my skull is unbearable, as if something is trying to force itself into a space too small to contain it. I vomit blood, not the dark bile from before, but actual blood, fresh and red. Internal bleeding from my damaged ribs, or something worse. The pool spreads around me as the artifact continues dragging me toward the central structure. The impression hits me, ancient beyond measure. But ancient doesn't capture it. That word implies time, and what I'm sensing exists outside time, or through time, or time doesn't apply, or I don't understand time anymore. The concepts bleed together, refusing to separate into comprehensible units. The artifact burns with meaning I can't grasp. Key, door, prison, guardian, words that mean nothing and everything. They slide through my mind like water through grasping fingers. As this understanding solidifies in my mind, the central structure responds. A portion of it shifts, flowing like black mercury, creating an opening, a doorway. Beyond it, I see not darkness, but light. Not the familiar light of the sun or stars, but something else. Something that makes my eyes ache to perceive it. My remaining functional eye begins to bleed, not from the outside, but from within. Blood vessels in my retina rupturing as I try to process what I'm seeing. My vision is going red, then black around the edges. I'm going blind. The artifact pulls me forward with renewed force. I plant my feet, my one good foot straining against its pull, but it's useless. My body moves without my consent, approaching the doorway, one reluctant step at a time. Stop, I plead, not with the artifact, but with myself. This isn't right. This isn't natural. Pressure builds in my skull, not words, but something trying to communicate. Sensations that might be language if my brain could process them. I catch fragments, natural, boundaries, illusion. But the meaning collapses before I can hold it. I reach the doorway, the artifact now physically pulling my arm forward, stretching it toward the opening. Beyond it, I see shapes moving, entities that defy description. Turn toward me. Reach for me. My arm is dislocating from the pull. I feel the socket separating, ligaments tearing. The pain is white hot, absolute, but I can't scream anymore. Blood fills my throat, choking me. No! I try to shout, but it comes out as a wet gurgle. I summon every ounce of will I possess. I plant my feet and pull back with all my strength, even as my body fails, even as I feel myself dying. The artifact resists, burning hot in my hand, but also burning cold, temperature fluctuating wildly, flash freezing my flesh, then searing it. The skin is blistering, peeling away, but the artifact remains fused to what lies beneath. The pain clears my head, or perhaps destroys the last of my rational mind. This is real. This is happening. This is not a hallucination or dream or psychotic break. Something ancient and alien has been waiting beneath the Arctic ice, and it wants me to open a door that should remain closed. Images assault me, not memories, or maybe something else entirely. I see myself, but not myself. Standing, but not standing. The concepts won't translate. They are others, or I am the others, or there's no distinction between self and other in the state I'm witnessing. The black door, always the black door. But why? I sealed it. No, that's wrong. I didn't seal anything. I've never been here before. Except I have. I always have. I will have. Tense doesn't apply. My mother's face flashes through the chaos. But wrong. Her features shifting. Eyes reflecting impossible angles. She's in snow, dissolving into it, becoming it, smiling as if this is natural. This is right. This is. The thought breaks. I can't hold it. My human brain is literally dying, cells rupturing under the strain of trying to contain concepts it was never built to process. With a final desperate effort, knowing it will kill me, knowing I have no choice, I wrench myself backward, breaking the artifact's hold. I stumble and fall, the black object still clutched in my ruined hand. The doorway in the central structure closes, the entities beyond it withdrawing, but not before one of them locks eyes with me, if the glowing points in its form can be called eyes. It knows me, not just as a human, but as what I once was. It recognizes what I've become, a failure, a fragment that broke before completing its purpose. My body is shutting down. I can feel it. The blood loss alone should have killed me already. My heartbeat is erratic, missing beats, the 7-beat rhythm of the artifact fighting with my failing human pulse. I'm having a heart attack on top of everything else. My lungs are filling with fluid. I'm drowning in my own blood. The ground beneath me trembles. The chamber's walls shake, ice cracking overhead. My actions have destabilized something. The artifact in my hand pulses frantically, its rhythm no longer aligned with my heartbeat, but erratic, desperate. Pressure against my thoughts, sensations that might be words, cannot deny. Purpose. I don't understand. I try to shout, but I'm too weak. Blood bubbles from my lips instead of words. More fragments press into my failing consciousness. Called, returned, always, again. The meanings slide away before I can grasp them fully. I can't see anymore. Both eyes are blind now, filled with blood. I can only hear the rumbling of collapsing ice, the shriek of failing dimensional barriers, the pressure of something vast trying to communicate through a medium I can't comprehend. I can't feel my legs, can't feel most of my body, just the artifact, still burning where it's fused to my hand. That pain remains constant, the only sensation anchoring me to consciousness. The artifact burns hotter in my palm, the pain now unbearable. I try to drop it, to fling it away, but it's fused to my skin, becoming part of me. Sensation floods through me, not words, but something deeper. Cannot separate 𝐾, you, always. The concepts arrive already contaminated with wrongness, like words spoken backwards. The ceiling cracks open, ice and ancient debris raining down. The central structure's liquid-solid form destabilizes, begins to collapse, and flows outward across the chamber floor. The miniature solar system flickers and vanishes. Something large strikes my chest, a piece of falling ice or ceiling. I feel more ribs crack, feel my sternum cave in. This is it. This is how I die, crushed beneath an impossible labyrinth, blind and broken, my hand fused to an alien artifact, my identity dissolving into something I can't comprehend. But I'm not afraid anymore. The pain is distant now, muted. My consciousness is fragmenting, pieces of me drifting away like snow in the wind. I can barely think anymore, can barely hold on to who I am. But some animal survival instinct remains. Crawl, move, escape. I drag myself forward. I don't even know which direction. Away from the collapsing structure, away from the doorway and the entities beyond. My body leaves a smear of blood across the floor as I crawl. Behind me, impressions press against my fading consciousness. Not quite words, not quite meaning. Return. Again. Nothing. Refuse. The concepts attach themselves to my fleeing consciousness like hooks, dragging behind me as I crawl. The tunnel ahead glows with pulsing symbols, lighting my way through my destroyed vision. Somehow I can see them despite my blindness, as if they're bypassing my ruined eyes entirely and projecting directly into my mind. I crawl until my body gives out, until even the instinct to survive begins to fade. The path inclines upward, spiraling back toward the surface. Ice continues to fall around me, the tunnel collapsing in sections behind me. I don't remember most of the journey. Time skips, stutters. I'm crawling, then I'm not, then I'm crawling again. Sometimes I'm standing, limping, though I don't remember how I got to my feet. The artifact guides me, pulls me, drags me toward the surface, even as my consciousness flickers in and out like a dying light. I see light ahead, not the alien glow of the symbols, but natural light filtering through ice. The fissure, the surface, safety, or perhaps I'm hallucinating. Perhaps I'm already dead, and this is just my dying brain's last desperate fantasy. With my last shred of consciousness, using strength I don't actually have, I lunge toward the opening. My broken body erupts from the fissure into the Arctic night, and I collapse face first into the snow. The ice behind me collapses entirely, sealing the tunnel and chamber beneath tons of ancient glacier. I lie gasping in the snow, the cold a shock after the relative warmth below. I can't see, can't feel most of my body, can't breathe properly through my blood-filled lungs. Each breath is a wet rattle. The artifact is still fused to my hand. When I try to look at it through my ruined eyes, I realize something has changed. It's not separate from me anymore. Where my palm should be, there's only a mass of scar tissue and black material merged into something that's neither wholly organic nor wholly artifact. The black tendrils have spread up my entire arm, across my shoulder, creeping toward my chest. They pulse with that alien rhythm, and I realize with horror that they're replacing my circulatory system, my nervous system, my very cells. I'm being rewritten from the inside out. I struggle to my feet, or try to. My body doesn't respond properly. I manage to roll onto my back, staring up at the Arctic sky through eyes that see in spectrums I've never perceived before. How long I will lie there, I don't know. Could be minutes, could be hours. Time has lost all meaning. My watch shattered, its face cracked, the hands frozen at 23:47. The same time I first heard the signal. As if no time has passed at all, or all time has passed, or time itself has broken. Eventually, somehow, I begin to move, not walking, dragging myself for the snow toward the distant lights of the station, leaving a trail of blood and something darker behind me. The wind has returned, howling across the ice, but it no longer seems threatening, almost comforting in its familiarity, its natural violence. Except I hear words in it now. My name, promises, threats. I can't tell which. The outpost seems impossibly far away. I crawl toward it, my broken body barely functional. The artifact, or what was the artifact, now pulsing in rhythm with my dying heart. I don't remember reaching the station. Time has fractured into disconnected shards. I'm crawling through snow, then I'm at the door, then I'm inside, with no memory of the transitions between. The wound in my consciousness is as severe as the wounds in my flesh. My thermal gear is shredded, soaked through with blood that's already freezing into rusty ice. The door hangs open behind me. Did I open it? Was it already open? I can't remember. Can't think. I collapse just inside the threshold, my broken body finally giving out completely. The warmth of the station is agony after the cold, sensation returning to nerve endings I didn't know were damaged, pain looming in places I'd gone numb. Through my ruined vision, the left eye completely blind, the right seeing in doubled, tripled images. I watch blood pool around me on the metal floor. Too much blood. I've lost too much. I should be dead already. The radio crackles to life, though I'm nowhere near it. The static resolves into that 7-beat rhythm, then into something else. Not quite voices, not quite pressure. Something between sound and sensation that makes the station's walls vibrate. Sensations flood through me. Not words, but something deeper, more invasive, denied, broken. The impressions scrape across my consciousness like claws. Not quite words, accusations, and a language that predates language. I try to speak, but blood fills my mouth. I spit it out, gasping. The sounds that emerge aren't quite words either. Wet, broken approximations. The pressure presses closer, and I feel rather than hear its response. A sensation of wrongness, of boundaries violated, of something that was whole, now fragmented. My right arm, the one fused with the artifact, begins to move on its own. Not the involuntary spasms from before, but deliberate movement. The black tendrils have spread across my chest now, wrapping around my ribs like splints, squeezing with each pulse. They've reached my neck, climbing toward my jaw. I watch in horror as my own arm lifts. The hand, no longer quite a hand, more like a blackened claw of scar tissue and alien material, reaches toward my face. Stop, I whisper, but it doesn't stop. My fingers, are they even fingers anymore, touch my face, and where they make contact, I feel the skin changing, hardening, the symbols from the labyrinth etching themselves into my flesh. The transformation is spreading from contact points outward. My face, my own face, is becoming part of the artifact. Sensations flood through me, not words, but something that bypasses language entirely. The artifact pulses meanings directly into my nervous system. Rejection, transformation, inevitable. The concepts arrive already contaminated with wrongness, like words spoken backwards, or in colors I can't see. I drag myself further into the station, using my one functional arm, my left. the one that's still mostly human. Each movement sends fresh agony through my broken ribs, my ruined chest. I leave a smear of blood and something darker behind me, a trail that glows faintly with the same luminescence as the symbols. The station is wrong. I knew it would be, but the extent of it still shocks me. The walls pulse with barely visible symbols, the same ones from the labyrinth. They're faint, easy to dismiss as hallucination, but they're there, carved into the metal itself, or perhaps existing just beneath it, in a layer of reality I can now perceive. The floor is transparent again, not just in one spot, but everywhere. I can see through it into depths that shouldn't exist, into layers of reality stacked like geological strata. In one there, station is as it should be. In another, it's already ancient ruins. In another, it never existed at all. My mind can't process all the layers simultaneously. Each time I try to focus, my consciousness fragments further, splitting between perspectives, between timelines, between versions of myself that are and were and will be. I pull myself toward the control room, though I'm not sure why. What can I do there? Call for help? Explain to Station Command that I've become something that isn't quite human anymore? That I'm dying and transforming simultaneously? Time skips. I'm in the control room now, though I don't remember the journey. Hours might have passed, or minutes. The clock reads 23:47, but it's always read 23:47 since this began. Time is stuck, looping, or I'm perceiving it non-linearly now. The artifact, my hand, pulses urgently. The black material has covered my entire right arm, my right shoulder, most of my chest. I can feel it wrapping around my heart, squeezing in rhythm with that alien 7-beat pattern. My human heart is failing, and this thing is trying to replace it. I slump into my chair, each breath a gurgling wheeze. The radio hisses with static, but beneath it, I hear something else. Music. Not human music. The mathematical precision of it is too perfect. The harmonics too complex. It's beautiful and terrible and completely incomprehensible to my dying human brain. Why? I managed to choke out. Why me? The response isn't an answer, it's an assault. Images, sensations, concepts that won't fit into human thought patterns. I see myself, but not myself, standing somewhere, when that doesn't translate to human perception. The door, always the door, but I'm on the other side, or the inside, or there is no side. Or others like me, or I and them, or we were never separate, or my mother's face in the snow. But her eyes are wrong, her smile is wrong. She's dissolving, and it's beautiful, and it's horrible, and she's not leaving. She's returning, and the visions shatter. I can't hold them. My dying brain rejects the information. Neurons literally burning out, trying to process the impossible. What little I retain makes no sense. Volunteered. Fragments, cycles, door. But the connections between these concepts slip away the moment I try to grasp them. It's like trying to remember a dream while waking. The harder I focus, the faster it dissolves. I look down at my body, what's left of it. The black material has claimed everything from my waist up on the right side. But on my left side, I'm still human, still bleeding, still broken. The boundary between the two halves of my body is a jagged line of pain, where two incompatible states of being meet and fail to reconcile. I'm dying and transforming, and neither process can complete while the other continues. A whisper, not sure who I'm asking, the entity, myself, God. Pressure builds in my skull, not pain now, but presence. Something trying to communicate, trying to make me understand. The sensations resolve into almost words: surrender, whole, complete. My left hand, still human, still mine, reaches for the emergency kit mounted on the wall. Inside is a flare gun, standard equipment for Arctic research stations. I pull it out with shaking fingers. The presence recoils. I feel its surprise, like a physical sensation, wrongness rippling through the space between us. Choosing, I whisper through blood and broken teeth. The word feels important, though I'm not sure why anymore. My thoughts are fragmenting, scattering like ice crystals in the wind. Some animal part of my brain knows. Transformation means dissolution. The Nathan-shaped thoughts will scatter, replaced by something else. Not death exactly, but erasure. Becoming part of something vast and cold and utterly indifferent to what I am now. Can't, won't. I press the flare gun against my temple, against the part of my skull that's still human, still vulnerable. The station itself shakes. My finger tightens on the trigger. Everything stops. The shaking ceases. The static cuts out. Even my heart, both my failing human heart and the alien pulse in my chest, pauses. And then, pain unlike anything I've experienced. Not the physical pain of broken bones and torn flesh, but something deeper. The artifact is being forcibly extracted, ripped away from my body, not externally, but from within, pulling back, retracting. I scream as the black tendrils tear out of my flesh, leaving ragged wounds. It's like having my entire circulatory system yanked through my skin. The material flows back toward my right hand, consolidating, separating from my tissue. The process is excruciating and impossibly fast. When it ends, I collapse forward, my body my own again, or what's left of it. The artifact sits in my palm, no longer fused, but resting there, pulsing weakly. My hand beneath it is destroyed, third-degree burns, maybe worse, the flesh blackened and dead. But it's my hand, human, separate. The presence withdraws, not defeated, I can feel that much, just recalculating. In the space it leaves behind, I catch fragmentary impressions, paradox, choice respected, temporary. But the meanings slide away before I can grasp them fully. Did I win something by time? Or just delay the inevitable by seconds, minutes, eons? I can't tell anymore. My thoughts won't stay linear. The pressure, if it was ever pressure, fades to echoes, then to nothing. I'm alone. My legs won't hold me. I slide from the chair to the floor, the flare gun falling from nerveless fingers and skittering across the metal. Time. What is time? The clock reads 23:47. Has always read 23:47. Will always read 23:47. I reach for my voice recorder. My destroyed hand won't close around it properly. The blackened flesh won't respond. It takes forever, or no time at all, to activate it with my left hand. Nathan MacReady. My voice is liquid. Wrong. Outpost Theta. Something beneath. The words scatter before I can capture them. What was I trying to say? There was something important. Something about the thought dissolves. I close my eyes, see symbols burning in the darkness behind the lid. They move, rearrange, spell things I almost understand. The door. Still see the door, cracks spreading across its surface. Or maybe that's just my vision failing. Or maybe there's no difference anymore. The station door opens. Wind, voices. Can't tell. Everything is blurring together. Sound becoming sensation. Color becoming something else. Shapes moving. Human shapes. Hands touching me. One of them says something about Omega Station, about Ellis, but the words dissolve before I can process them. The sounds they make might be words, but they arrive scrambled, backward, in frequencies I shouldn't be able to hear. One leans close. Face shield reflecting. I see myself in the curved surface. My face. My human face. But the smile is wrong. When did I start smiling? Can't stop. The muscles won't respond. And my eye, the one that still works, black. No pupil, no iris, just black, like looking into deep water, like looking into the void between. The thought won't complete. I try to speak, try to warn them. My mouth opens, and the sound that emerges makes the rescuer stumble backward, his face shield cracking against the wall.